We are Snowbird Nation. Hey, welcome to Snowbird Nation, a lifestyle connection of resources to designing lives. What is a snowbird, you ask? Well, a snowbird is a person who travels south or west during the winter months in order to escape northern weather and obtain partial relief from the high cost of northern area taxes. So snowbirding is that act of traveling and living part of the year and spending part of the time in southern and western areas to enjoy the beautiful climate and all the south and west has to offer, while at the same time avoiding the harsh polar vortex that may be coming in the winter weather of the north. Feel free to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, podcast, YouTube, Vimeo, and elsewhere, for we are Snowbird Nation, and I am the voice of Snowbird Nation, Mike Searcy. Snowbird Nation is divided into 2 segments per episode. Segment 1 is dedicated to education and opportunity for you or those of you who want to learn more about snowbirding. Segment 2 is dedicated to those of you visiting the Valley of the Sun, whether you're visiting now for a number of months or a short vacation with us here in Arizona. We're going to go over what exciting events are happening, as well as cover the real estate market numbers to date. So you will want to stick with us on today's show. Segment 1 starts right now on Snowbird Nation. Hey, welcome into the show. My name is Mike Searcy, founder of the Snowbird Nation Real Estate Group and your voice of Snowbird Nation. So I'm sitting here in the state of Arizona in the Valley of the Sun, where as a realtor, as a your chief real estate advocate and a recovering college professor, a couple of things we needed to actually chat about. Because if you're planning on coming down here and the seller's market concept here in Arizona has not stopped. Prior to our time here in the lockdown or the stay-at-home orders all across the country and all across the world, one of the interesting things about what we've been doing is here in Arizona, as opposed to other places, is we've stayed a very strong seller's market. So when prior to this whole coronavirus hit, Maricopa County was the fastest growing county in the United States. Over 300 people a day are moving into Maricopa County here in Arizona. So that brings us to lots of real estate, wonderful real estate opportunity. Whether you're coming down here to live or planning maybe on retiring to Arizona, it's still a wonderful, one of the top places to retire. So whether you're coming down here to live or right now or planning on retiring here, now's a wonderful time to get real estate. And here's partly why. And I want to talk about that first. And then secondly, I want to talk about what happens when you don't have the right agent and the right advocates in your corner. We've got some interesting things going on today, so stay with me. So let's go ahead and get started. First off, as we're talking about moving in, if you're thinking about retiring to Arizona, now's the time to even think about calling us and getting something kind of arranged and start looking at it. Because number one, virtual tours, which we've been doing for eons for our clients out of Snowbird Nation, are now becoming the norm and popular because people are not wanting to go in and out of houses all the time. Go figure. With the coronavirus issues and things like this going on, this is just one of those things that people are being a little bit more gun shy. So now a lot of the agents are learning to catch up to what we here at Snowbird Nation have been doing for our out-of-state clients and our out-of-country clients all along. So virtual tours are great. So we'll set you up, for example, on Facebook Messenger video chat. We'll set you up on Zoom calls and things like this. So you can actually tour the house and get conversation with us throughout that tour or pre-recorded video, whichever you'd prefer. So we'll tour that house and have you look at that house in advance from the comfort of your own couch. So you have that opportunity. Then, of course, if you decide you'd like it, and this is the house for you, we narrow it down so you only have to go into the few houses that you're truly interested in, not in and out of just a lot of just plain houses of sorts. So we narrow it down this way, that much easier. Now, having said that, one of the great things about our contracts here in Arizona, a real estate purchase contract, is you wind up with typically, unless otherwise negotiated, you wind up with a 10-day inspection period from the time that you have an accepted contract. That gives you 10 days to inspect anything and everything about the property, the neighborhood, the internet. It doesn't make any difference. The CCNRs for an HOA, the requirements from the city zoning and ordinance, whatever it might be, to do your due diligence. So should there be anything that is not acceptable to you, one of the great things about that is you get that exit ramp out of the contract, no harm, no foul, earnest money returned back to you. The only thing that you've lost is your time and any money you might have spent for the inspections. But better to spend that money up front and know what you're getting into, make that wise decision to get out if that's the case, and actually cover yourself in that regard. That's our job. So here's one of the other reasons why, if you're looking at a possible investment property, we've been looking at some incredible properties recently with some of our, what we call our VRBO investors. Our VRBO, Vacation Rental by Owner. You've heard us talk about Vacation Rental by Owner. See, one of the great things about that is we have got a number of people here in the Valley who have had VRBOs, vacation rental properties, and as such, what has happened is that they have taken it in the shorts, so to speak, over the last coronavirus lockdown time. You see, when all this lockdown happened, everybody canceled all of their travel, as you might well guess. Now, some of the VRBO stays were happening and still taking advantage of reservations who were local and just getting driven nuts by looking at the same things going on in their house all along. So what typically happened was people would go there, but if you were a vacation or planning on traveling into Arizona, you canceled. And a lot of the VRBO owners had to give a lot of reservation and money back, and then they weren't making their investment money back. And if they weren't already padded with a little bit of funding to cover that buffer, they took it in the shorts. And having said that, there's now coming on the market a number of people who are trying to liquidate those VRBOs because they realized they were not well capitalized or they didn't have good management, which also is something we do to help you assist with that VRBO. And so now they're trying to figure out, how do I get down back to Arizona, check this out, check that out? Do I have the right resources that I can just call, et cetera, et cetera? And that can be a very, very interesting and big problem to have. But it's a great opportunity for you right now. If you're thinking about investments, now's the time to come down. There are places near golf courses. There are places near, some of the little lakes in the Goodyear area and things like this, going out west, or even here in Scottsdale, for example, all across the valley where people are basically trying to dump their VRBOs and their investment properties. That speaks volumes for our buyers, because now obviously we're looking at people who are thinking about going in. See, as long as we plan ahead and get it set right, we can help you buffer against lockdowns and things like this. But it's coming back. We're now starting to see our VRBOs pick up a lot of reservations, and people are planning travel. And that, I don't know about the rumor, but the rumor has it that heat kills the virus. I am not a doctor. I am not a medical professional, but I am going to tell you this. People believe it. Whether it's true or not, that means we are still a very fast-growing county here in Maricopa County, the Valley of the Sun, all around Phoenix, Scottsdale, and the surrounding communities. What does that typically mean for us? We have people coming in who need places to stay. If they're coming in for vacation or want to be snowbirds, the people who are thinking ahead and picking up the property to rent to the snowbirds are the ones that are going to actually make out. Because the appreciation here in a seller's market means that prices are just keep rising and rising and rising. The rest of the country, much of the rest of the country, is still a buyer's market. And because it's a buyer's market, one of the great things about that is we're having issues, right? We're having these issues where we're having people trying to get rid of properties there. But in a seller's market, oftentimes houses are selling, especially good ones, of course, where there's good potential, investment potential and otherwise. Houses are selling at or above list price in multiple offer scenarios. So we have strategies to win multiple offer scenarios and to snag it. And we're going to talk about that a little bit after the break, because I think this is really, really important for us to get into. And so once we get to the break, we'll talk about, get through the break. I want to talk about that. But what I am saying is this: buyer's market elsewhere. So people are thinking, I'm going to come into Arizona because I know how to negotiate real estate, and they're losing. Why do you suppose they're losing out when it comes to trying to get deals? Then they're blaming their agent, they're blaming the market, they're blaming everybody because they knew that in Houston or they knew in Chicago they could get a house at approximately 90% low list to sell ratio. That means I can offer you about 90% of what that particular house is being listed for and expect to get it. Doesn't work that way in a seller's market. Think about supply and demand, basic economics. When there are more buyers than we have inventory, the house prices go up. As people are continuing to move into Maricopa County and there are more people here that need housing, rents go up. As people here need housing, sales prices go up. And a lot of the builders are not building houses right now. They're building apartment communities, and they're trying to be able to make it so that people have places to shelter. So when we're looking at properties for sale, now's the time to grab them because they're only continuing to move up and up and up. We're not forecasting that being a crash anytime soon. We had people who were going and crying, the sky is falling, in that the coronavirus and all the prices are going to dip and they're waiting for the market to crash. I got news for you. It's not. And as such, this is the time to pick up your property because you're only going to make out in advance. And if you do the VRBO and the short-term rentals correctly, you're going to make out really well. So I'm hoping I'm impressing upon you that it isn't time to wait. Advantage is to the people that are ready to take advantage of the opportunity. The opportunity is here. Call me so we can actually talk about it because it's that important too. Okay, we're going to move into the break now. And on the other side of the break, I want to talk quite a bit about why some people are losing because they don't have the right resources at their disposal. Stay tuned.
You've been listening to Snowbird Nation with your host, Mike Searcy. To find out how you can become a member, go to Patreon, that's patreon.com/Snowbird Nation. Simply click on Become a Patron to join. You'll receive private investment opportunity, exclusive content, monthly news, and real-time industry updates. Join us every week right here on Snowbird Nation.
Here is your real estate update for the Valley of the Sun here in Arizona for the third week of May 2020. Unlike the rest of the country in many cases, Arizona has still continued to be a very strong seller's market. Sponsored by Mike Searcy, your chief real estate advocate and co-founder of the Snowbird Nation Real Estate Group. Today we're going to go ahead and start with Sun City. Sun City has a slight seller's advantage market with houses listing currently at an average of $154 per square foot. Condominiums are currently listing at an average of $132 per square foot, with a house median list price of $239,900 and an average day on market of 59. Condominiums are currently listing at a median list price of $155,000 with an average days on market of 71. For Scottsdale, the snapshot zip code we are looking at today is 85260, which is roughly the area around Frank Lloyd Wright and the 101. Here we are looking at a strong seller's market with houses listing currently at an average of $268 per square foot and condominiums listing at an average of $239 per square foot. The median list price for houses in this area is $659,900 with an average days on market of 66. The median list price for condominiums is $325,000 with an average days on market of 59. In Phoenix, we are looking at a snapshot of zip code 85023, which is also a very strong seller's market. Here, the list prices of houses are averaging $180 per square foot, and the list prices of condominiums are averaging $140 per square foot. The median list price for houses in this area is $342,450 with an average days on market of 87. And the median list price for condominiums is $174,500 with an average days on market of 54. In Glendale, we are looking at a snapshot of the zip code 85310, which also is a very strong seller's market, where we have houses listing for an average of $187 per square foot. The current median list price for houses here is $469,000 with an average days on market of 70. If you are interested in buying or selling and wanting to know how these numbers specifically affect your situation, call me, Mike Searcy, Chief Real Estate Advocate of the Snowbird Nation Real Estate Group at 217-553-3509. Call, text, or you can send me an email, mike@snowbirdnation.us. We are back from break, baby. All right, so you've gotten the market update. You heard a little bit about some of the VRBO and the incredible opportunity that's happening right now in Snowbird Nation. But, here's the thing. It is so important that you have the right resources at your disposal and ready for you. Here's why. I want to tell you about two scenarios. Recently, one of Snowbird Nation's real estate listings went on the market. And this particular listing is a very desirable listing. Again, we're in a seller's market. That means lots of showings when we get the listings if they're at the right price. Lots of showings, and often very quickly we wind up with a number of different offers coming at us all at the same time, which is an incredible opportunity for the sellers to be able to look at all of those with the advice of somebody on their real estate team, such as myself, for instance, who is very analytical, who's going to actually take and do a full net sheet spread. In other words, here's what they're asking for. Here's what you're going to actually net out of this. Find out what your mortgage is, any other liens that you might have on that property, and this is what you're going to net out of it. And this is also the due diligence that we often do in checking, for example, with the lender, because here in Arizona, you have to show proof of funds, not just to actually accompany any offer. That typically means one of two things. The first is that particular offer needs to come with a PDF account statement from whatever financial institution is holding your money, that has your name on the account, as well as enough money currently in that account to show that there's enough to cover the entire purchase of the entire property and the offer. Barring that, because not everybody has that kind of cash on hand sitting in a bank, barring that, there is often that need for financing. And that's quite understandable, and that's quite normal, even for second homes, vacation homes, etc., investment homes and the like. And so in that, for that proof of funds to accompany that particular offer, we're required to actually have, and now here's something that a lot of outside the state or inexperienced agents or just agents who don't care what they're doing, we're required to have, according to line 69 of our Real Estate Arizona Association of Realtors purchase agreement, line 69 states that we are going to submit with the offer incorporated herein the Arizona Association of Realtors PreQualification Form. This is a form that is actually submitted to the lender who has to be licensed and available to write purchases and lend money in the state of Arizona. And so they need to fill out this form checking I've had a verbal conversation with the buyer, checking that I've looked at their W-2s or sources of income, checking that I have seen these various documents, including taxes and this, that, and whatever else. Then actually putting in that information about the loan on this particular paper. They sign it, putting their credibility and their license on the line. So in Arizona, if we don't have that very specific form, what happens is your agent needs to call the lender and say, give me this form in this order, or I can't submit this offer. If your agent's not doing that and even training out-of-state lenders who may be licensed in Arizona but haven't written a loan in Arizona in so long they forgot how. Because in many other states, this form isn't required. They can give you a desktop underwriting form. They can give you a letter that is variable in terms of whether or not it's worth the paper it's printed on sometimes. And then I, as the listing agent, am often calling all of these lenders and saying, how good and solid is the money? These are the things that your buying agent should have done up front and prepared this particular form that I'm referring to. So when I say this, I have a listing here in Snowbird Nation, here in the Valley, where we received multiple offers on a particular property, and one of them was actually the highest number that we had to outright reject because they had a lazy agent or they had a buyer who was being stubborn and not listening to their agent. I don't know because I'm not going to go that far. But the agent submitted the letter from one of those national mortgage companies that you can find online. And it's great that they're using them. We don't have a problem with that, but they have to follow Arizona protocol. Because line 69 is not a joke in Arizona and the purchase agreement. Line 69 specifically states that you're going to submit as the buyer's agent with the offer the Arizona Association of Realtor pre-approved, the pre-qualification form signed by that lender. What they sent us was a great offer, potentially, but it wasn't worth the paper it was printed on because they chose not to actually go out of their way and do their due diligence, contact that lender and say, I need a very specific form for an Arizona property. I understand that your buyer is coming from out of state and may not be familiar with this, but you as a licensed Arizona lender ought to be familiar with this. And if you're not, it is my job as the agent representing the buyer to do my due diligence, contact that lender, and get them on board if they really want to lend here in Arizona. I'm getting on a soapbox, as you might well guess, because it really bugs me as your chief real estate advocate for Snowbird Nation. It bugs me that there are agents out there who just are unwilling to do their due diligence and do their job. It bugs me a lot because they're not actually fulfilling the advocacy role that comes with our licensing as a real estate licensee, a real estate agent. Now here's the other thing. Was it the agent now or was it the buyer? You see, there might have been a decent offer, but the buyer also chose to give the number, as I said before the break, 90% below the 90% below the asking price. So that's the agent now or the seller who wouldn't listen if the agent was attempting to work with them. It was the agent or the seller who weren't coming to an agreement and an understanding that we're in a seller's market, supply and demand, economics. There are more buyers than there are sellers. If you want this property for real and you're not playing games, then even though you seem to be a very solid offer, a solid income, solid debt, income to debt ratio, solid everything else, the price that you offer needs to reflect the market if you want the property. Because if they thought they were going to go, oh, we'll go this here, and then we'll start playing we'll meet you in the middle here, and then we'll play meet you in the middle here, meet you in the middle there. Nope. by the time you even got a counter offer back, another offer was already accepted at or above list price. That's the way Arizona's currently working. It might shift, but you need to hear the truth. And to sugarcoat this with, yeah, let's negotiate because I'm a great agent and I'm going to negotiate on your behalf. Bunk. That works in a buyer's market. It doesn't work in a seller's market, and you have to actually come up with strategies to obtain the property. What we're trying to do with our buyers is get them so that they can have the property they want. Really, you're going to lose the property because you're going to try and negotiate and argue over $5,000. If you're going to try and argue and negotiate over $5,000, you've wasted time looking at so many offers, writing so many offers, and putting them out there. And the one that's going to actually accept your negotiation strategies isn't going to be your first choice on a house. These are the things we have to keep in mind, because it absolutely irks me when lenders aren't doing their job representing their clients in Arizona, and it irks me even more when actually buying agents, real estate agents, have no idea what they're doing in terms of trying to submit an offer that they expect to be accepted. The agents that are associated with me in Snowbird Nation, and we have a team. We have specialists throughout the entire valley, and I've got specialists throughout the entire nation. They know their stuff. I have had this happen with agents who have claimed to have been working as a real estate agent for decades, and they don't pay attention to their own work. I don't know how they're successful. Actually, I don't even know if they're successful. It may be they don't rely on the income to feed their families, and so it's a hobby for them. And my advice to you in Snowbird Nation is to stay away from the hobbyists. Work with the actual realtors that do this and take this seriously and take advocacy seriously. Because when we get someone who isn't willing to even call that lender and train them and prep them for their own clients who you represent offer, and you wait to the last minute, it's not going to happen. Properties move too fast here in Arizona. And these are the things we have to think about. Okay, soapbox time for Snowbird Nation. But I think these are the things that need to be said, because we're all moving down here to Arizona, either as snowbirds or permanently to retire, or just coming down here as it is. And I think it's dang important that you get the right representation. And that also means getting a lender who knows Arizona. Getting a lender who's willing to work with the realtor and take advice and lead from the realtor on how to actually work this kind of market. Because if they're writing loans in other states, they may not fully understand Arizona, and it's time to talk to the experts, or you're gonna lose out. And here at Snowbird Nation, the last thing we want to see is you losing out, and that's why we take advocacy very, very seriously. That's all for today. Thanks for joining us here this week on Snowbird Nation. And if you need anything from me, education in real estate or otherwise, this is what we do. As a recovering college professor, I've only got your education and best interest at heart when it comes to your real estate goals.
You've been listening to Snowbird Nation with your host, Mike Searcy. To find out how you can become a member, go to Patreon, that's patreon.com/Snowbird Nation. Simply click on Become a Patron to join. You'll receive private investment opportunity, exclusive content, monthly news, and real-time industry updates. Join us every week right here on Snowbird Nation.